The air reeked of decay as Captain Ryan Holt crouched behind the jagged remains of a skyscraper, the shattered windows glinting faintly in the pale moonlight. His breathing was steady, but his mind raced. Manhattan, once vibrant and teeming with life, now lay in ruins, a graveyard of humanity's former glory. His HUD blinked red as it tracked Zorathian patrols scuttling across the broken streets. "Bravo team, report," Ryan whispered into his comms, his voice barely audible over the distant hum of alien drones. "All clear on the south approach," came the reply from Sergeant Diaz, her tone sharp and focused. "North is secure." "No movement," added Corporal Singh. Ryan glanced at his squad. Each of them wore battle-worn exosuits, their surfaces scratched and dented from countless skirmishes. Their helmets hid faces etched with exhaustion, but their eyes burned with determination. "All right," Ryan said, his voice low but firm. "Objective is 500 meters ahead, Zorathian Biolab. We're in, we get the data, and we're out. No heroics. Understood?" "Yes, sir," the team responded in unison. The squad moved like shadows, their steps muffled by adaptive boots that adjusted to the terrain. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional crack of debris underfoot. Ryan's eyes scanned the ruins, his finger hovering near the trigger of his plasma rifle. They reached the perimeter of the biolab, a twisted amalgamation of organic and metallic structures that pulsed faintly, as though alive. The sight was unsettling, even for Ryan. "Diaz, Singh, secure the entrance," he ordered. Diaz sprinted ahead, her movements swift and precise. She placed a small device on the lab's entrance, a pulsating mass of alien tissue that appeared to be both door and guard. The device emitted a high-pitched whine before the tissue shuddered and retracted. "We're in," Diaz said, her voice tinged with triumph. The squad slipped inside, their weapons at the ready. The interior was worse than Ryan had imagined. The walls glistened with a viscous, green fluid that dripped into shallow pools on the floor. Bioluminescent tendrils hung from the ceiling, casting an eerie glow over the room. Strange, insect-like creatures scuttled along the edges, retreating into crevices as the humans advanced. "Stay sharp," Ryan muttered. "This place is alive." The team moved deeper into the lab, navigating a labyrinth of pulsating corridors. Singh paused, his gaze fixed on a pod-like structure embedded in the wall. Inside, a human figure floated, their features obscured by a greenish fluid. "Captain," Singh whispered, his voice trembling. "They're experimenting on us." Ryan clenched his jaw, forcing himself to focus. "We'll deal with that later. The mission comes first." They reached the central chamber, a vast, dome-like space filled with towering columns of glowing alien tech. In the center stood a console, its surface rippling like liquid metal. "Diaz, you're up," Ryan said. Diaz approached the console, her hands steady as she connected a human-made device to the alien system. Her HUD flickered with streams of data as she worked to extract the intel. "Captain," she said, her voice tight. "This is big. They're building a bioweapon. Something to wipe out the rest of us." Ryan's stomach turned, but he kept his voice calm. "How long do you need?" 2 minutes tops." "Make it 1," Ryan said, his eyes scanning the chamber. The faint hum of the lab grew louder, a low vibration that seemed to resonate in their bones. Ryan's HUD flashed a warning, multiple biosignatures inbound. "Contact!" he barked. "Defensive positions!" The first Zorathian burst into the chamber, a grotesque blend of chitin and muscle, its glowing eyes fixed on the intruders. Singh opened fire, his plasma rounds searing through the creature's torso. It let out a guttural scream before collapsing, but more poured in behind it. "Hold the line!" Ryan shouted, his rifle blazing. The chamber erupted into chaos. Plasma bolts lit up the space, reflecting off the slick walls. The Zorathians moved with inhuman speed, their claws slicing through the air as they closed in. Diaz worked furiously at the console, sweat dripping down her face despite the cool air. "I'm almost there," she yelled. "Diaz, hurry!" Ryan replied, his rifle kicking against his shoulder as he took down another alien. Singh let out a grunt as a Zorathian tackled him, its claws ripping into his exosuit. Ryan pivoted, firing a precise shot that sent the creature sprawling. He pulled Singh to his feet. You good? Ryan asked. Good enough. Singh panted, blood seeping from a gash in his arm. Captain? Diaz called out. I've got the data. Fall back, Ryan ordered. Singh, cover our 6. The team retreated through the corridors, their movements quick but controlled. The Zorathians pursued relentlessly, their screeches echoing through the lab. Diaz, what's the fastest way out? Ryan demanded. North corridor leads to a service hatch, she replied. Move! The squad sprinted down the corridor, the walls seeming to close in around them. Ryan's HUD pinged again, more biosignatures ahead. We're boxed in, Singh said, his voice grim. Not yet, Ryan replied, pulling a grenade from his belt. He tossed it behind them, the explosion shaking the lab and buying them precious seconds. They reached the service hatch, a small, circular opening that pulsed like a heartbeat. Diaz placed another device on it, forcing it to retract. Go, go, go! Ryan shouted. The squad scrambled through the hatch, emerging into the cool night air. Behind them, the lab shuddered as the Zorathians regrouped. Captain, drones incoming! Singh warned, pointing to the sky where glowing orbs zipped toward them. Head for the extraction point, Ryan ordered. The squad raced through the ruins, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The drones closed in, their energy beams scorching the ground around them. Ryan fired over his shoulder, taking down 2 of the machines. The extraction point came into view, a battered dropship hidden in the shadows of a collapsed building. The ramp lowered as the team approached, and they dove inside just as the drones unleashed another barrage. Punch it! Ryan yelled to the pilot. The dropship roared to life, lifting off and leaving the ruined city behind. Ryan slumped into a seat, his chest heaving. Diaz, did we get it? He asked. Diaz held up the device, her expression grim. We got it. But, Captain, this changes everything. That weapon, if they finish it, we're done. Ryan nodded, his jaw tightening. Then we don't let them finish it. As the dropship soared into the night, Ryan allowed himself a moment to breathe. The mission was a success, but the war was far from over. The dropship skimmed low over the desolate landscape, its engines whispering to avoid detection. Inside, the squad sat in grim silence, the tension palpable. Ryan Holt leaned against the bulkhead, his mind racing. The intel they had extracted was potentially humanity's last hope, but only if they could deliver it safely to command. Captain, Diaz said, her voice breaking the silence. She was seated across from him, clutching the data drive. This weapon, it's not just some bomb. It's biological. They're engineering a virus to target human DNA specifically. Ryan frowned. How long until they're ready to deploy it? Hard to say, Diaz replied, her face pale. But judging by the data we pulled, they're close. Maybe weeks. Ryan's jaw tightened. Then we don't have time to waste. He turned to the pilot. ETA to forward base Echo? 20 minutes, the pilot responded, keeping his eyes on the terrain below. Singh, seated next to Diaz, adjusted the bandage on his arm. That was too close back there, he muttered. Feels like they knew we were coming. Ryan's eyes narrowed. What are you saying, Singh? The corporal hesitated. I'm saying someone might have tipped them off. The Zorathians don't usually react that fast. They were waiting for us. The squad exchanged uneasy glances. Ryan didn't respond, but the thought lodged itself in his mind like a splinter. The dropship shuddered suddenly, jolting everyone out of their thoughts. What the hell was that? Diaz asked, gripping her seat. Hold on, the pilot shouted. We've got incoming. Outside the cockpit, the unmistakable hum of Zorathian drones filled the air. A squadron of the glowing orbs streaked toward the dropship, their energy beams lighting up the night sky. Evasive maneuvers! Ryan barked, gripping a handhold as the dropship banked sharply. Diaz and Singh scrambled to the side windows, firing their rifles at the drones. The air filled with the deafening sounds of plasma blasts and the metallic shriek of exploding machines. "We can't outrun them," the pilot yelled. "They're locking on. Find a place to land," Ryan ordered. "We're sitting ducks up here." The pilot nodded, steering the dropship toward a cluster of jagged cliffs. As the ship descended, a drone managed to strike the rear engine, sending sparks flying. "Brace for impact," the pilot shouted. The dropship slammed into the rocky ground, skidding to a halt amidst a cloud of dust and debris. The squad scrambled out, weapons at the ready. Above them, the surviving drones circled like vultures, preparing for another attack. "Singh, get that portable turret online!" Ryan shouted. Singh dropped to one knee, pulling a compact device from his pack. Within seconds, it unfolded into an automated plasma turret, which began firing at the approaching drones. "Diaz, status on the data drive?" Ryan asked, his eyes scanning the cliffs for more threats. "Still intact," she replied, holding it up. The turret's blast echoed through the canyon, taking down 2 drones, but more were on the way. "We can't hold this position for long," Singh said, reloading his rifle. "Fall back to the cliffs," Ryan ordered. "We'll use the terrain to our advantage." The squad retreated into a narrow gorge, the steep rock walls providing some cover. The drones hesitated, their movements slower in the confined space. Ryan used the moment to regroup. "Diaz, how far are we from Echo?" "About 10 clicks," she said, consulting her HUD. "We're not making it on foot with these things chasing us," Singh pointed out. Ryan nodded grimly. "Then we make our stand here. Diaz, set up a signal booster. We need reinforcements." As Diaz worked to establish a link, the drones began advancing down the gorge, their energy beams scorching the rocks. Ryan and Singh opened fire, their shots precise and controlled. "Signals up!" Diaz shouted. "Broadcasting distress call now!" Ryan didn't have time to respond. A new sound reached his ears, a low, guttural growl that sent a chill down his spine. "Captain," Singh said, his voice tight. "We've got company." From the shadows emerged a Zorathian foot soldier, its towering frame illuminated by the faint glow of its bioluminescent armor. It moved with predatory grace, its clawed hands flexing in anticipation. "Diaz, stay back!" Ryan ordered, stepping forward to face the creature. The Zorathian lunged, faster than Ryan expected. He barely dodged in time, firing a burst of plasma rounds into its side. The creature roared but kept coming, its claws raking across his armor. Singh joined the fight, his shots hitting the Zorathian in its legs. The alien staggered, giving Ryan an opening. He aimed for its head and fired, the plasma bolt searing through its skull. The creature collapsed, its body twitching before going still. "That's one down," Singh said, panting. "Don't get comfortable," Ryan replied. "There'll be more." As if on cue, another Zorathian appeared, followed by 2 more. The squad braced for the fight of their lives, but before they could engage, a blinding flash lit up the gorge. "Get down!" Ryan shouted, shielding his eyes. When the light faded, the Zorathians were gone, their forms disintegrated into ash. Hovering above the squad was a sleek human drone, its weapons glowing faintly. "This is command," a voice crackled through the comms. "We picked up your signal and scrambled support. Reinforcements are en route." Ryan exhaled, relief washing over him. "Acknowledged, command. We're holding position." The squad regrouped, the immediate danger past. But Ryan's sense of unease remained. Singh's earlier words echoed in his mind, someone had tipped off the Zorathians. As they waited for the reinforcements to arrive, Ryan noticed Diaz was unusually quiet. She sat apart from the group, her hands fidgeting with the data drive. "Diaz," Ryan said, approaching her. "Everything all right?" She looked up, her expression guarded. "Just processing everything. It's a lot, you know." Ryan nodded, but something in her tone didn't sit right. Before he could press further, the sound of approaching vehicles drew his attention. A convoy of armored transports rolled into the gorge, their lights cutting through the darkness. Soldiers disembarked, securing the area with practiced efficiency. "Captain Holt?" a lieutenant called out, approaching Ryan. "That's me," Ryan replied. The lieutenant handed him a secure calm tablet. "Command wants to speak with you directly. It's urgent." Ryan took the tablet, his brow furrowing as he read the message. His face hardened. "Is something wrong, sir?" Singh asked. Ryan glanced at his team, his expression unreadable. "Pack up. We're moving out." As the squad prepared to board the transports, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle was just beginning, and that the enemy might not only be alien. The convoy rolled through the wasteland, the armored transports humming steadily as they approached Forward Base Echo. Inside the lead vehicle, Captain Ryan Holt sat across from Diaz and Singh, his eyes scanning the terrain through a narrow viewport. The data drive lay secure in his chest pocket, but the weight of it felt heavier with each passing mile. The squad had barely survived the Zorathian ambush, and while Command's reinforcements had arrived in time, Ryan couldn't shake the growing suspicion that their every move was being watched and manipulated. "You're awfully quiet, Captain," Singh said, breaking the silence. Ryan didn't look away from the viewport. "Just thinking." "About what?" Singh pressed, his voice wary. Ryan's gaze finally met Singh's. "About who knew our mission details, and how the Zorathians managed to ambush us so precisely." Diaz shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "We've been over this, Captain. It could have been a lucky guess on their part." Ryan's expression hardened. "The Zorathians don't guess, Diaz. They're too methodical for that." Before anyone could respond, the convoy came to an abrupt halt, the screech of brakes piercing the tense silence. "Why are we stopping?" Ryan asked, reaching for his rifle. "Roadblock up ahead," the driver called back. "Looks like some debris." Ryan frowned. "Get us moving. Clear it if you have to." As the driver opened the hatch to step out, a sudden burst of gunfire erupted from the ridge above. Bullets pinged off the transport's armored hull, and the squad immediately dove for cover. "Ambush!" Singh shouted, raising his rifle. Ryan peered through the viewport, his jaw clenching as he spotted figures descending from the ridge, not Zorathians, but humans. Mercenaries, by the looks of their mismatched gear and brutal efficiency. "Hold your positions!" Ryan barked. The squad returned fire, plasma bolts streaking through the dusty air. The mercenaries moved with precision, flanking the convoy and forcing Ryan's team into a defensive posture. "Captain, these aren't random raiders," Diaz said, firing a quick burst. "They're after us." Ryan's mind raced. "The data drive," he muttered. A grenade sailed through the air, landing just outside the transport. Ryan grabbed it and hurled it back, the explosion sending a shockwave through the canyon. "We're sitting ducks here," Singh said, his voice tight. "We need to move." Ryan nodded. "Diaz, take the drive and head for the rocks. Singh, cover her." "What about you?" Diaz asked, her eyes wide. "I'll draw their fire," Ryan said, already opening the side hatch. "Captain." "Go!" Ryan snapped. Diaz hesitated for a split second before sprinting toward the cover of the rocks, Singh hot on her heels. Ryan stepped out of the transport, his rifle blazing as he laid down suppressing fire. The mercenaries turned their attention to him, their shots sparking off the ground around his feet. Ryan ducked behind a boulder, his breath coming in sharp gasps. He activated his comms. "Diaz status?" "We're in the clear for now," she replied. "But they're closing in fast." Ryan peeked out from his cover, firing a quick shot that took down one of the attackers. He couldn't help but notice how coordinated they were, too coordinated for mere mercenaries. Then it hit him. They weren't just after the data drive. They were cleaning up. "Command," Ryan said into his comms, his voice cold. "Do you copy?" Static crackled in his ear, followed by a hesitant reply. "This is Command." "What's your status, Captain?" "We're under attack by human mercenaries," Ryan said, his tone sharp. "You want to explain why?" There was a pause, just long enough to confirm Ryan's suspicions. "Captain," the voice finally said, "you're carrying sensitive information. It's imperative that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands." "The wrong hands?" Ryan snapped. "That's your excuse for sending hired guns to kill us?" "We're taking necessary precautions," the voice replied. "Deliver the data drive, and this will all be over." Ryan's grip tightened on his rifle. "Not a chance. You sold us out, didn't you? To the Zorathians." There was no reply, but the silence spoke volumes. "Captain," Singh's voice cut in, urgent. "We've got more incoming." Ryan turned to see a second wave of mercenaries descending the ridge, their weapons trained on the rocks where Diaz and Singh were hiding. Ryan gritted his teeth. "Hold your ground. I'm coming to you." He broke from cover, sprinting toward his squad. Plasma bolts whizzed past him, but he didn't stop. He slid into the rocks just as a volley of gunfire tore through the air behind him. "What's the plan, Captain?" Singh asked, reloading his rifle. Ryan glanced at Diaz, who was clutching the data drive like her life depended on it. "We make for the evac point. No stopping, no turning back." "And the mercenaries?" Diaz asked. "We deal with them as we go," Ryan said. The squad moved as one, darting through the rocky terrain with the mercenaries in hot pursuit. Ryan led the way, his rifle blazing as he cleared a path. Singh brought up the rear, his turret providing cover fire. "Evac point is just over that ridge," Diaz said, her voice strained. "Move!" Ryan shouted. They scrambled up the ridge, their muscles burning with exertion. As they crested the top, a sleek transport ship came into view, its engines already running. "Almost there," Singh said, a rare note of hope in his voice. But the mercenaries weren't giving up. They surged forward, their firepower increasing as they closed the distance. "Captain, we've got a problem," Diaz said, pointing to the ship. Ryan's heart sank. A group of mercenaries was already boarding the transport, their weapons trained on the squad. "Stay here," Ryan said, his voice low. "What are you doing?" Singh asked. "Ending this," Ryan replied. Before they could stop him, Ryan charged down the slope, his rifle blazing. The mercenaries turned, caught off guard by his sudden attack. He moved like a force of nature, his shots precise and deadly. As he reached the transport, one of the mercenaries raised a weapon, but Ryan was faster. He tackled the man, slamming him into the side of the ship before delivering a final, brutal blow. "Diaz! Singh! Get on board!" Ryan shouted. The squad sprinted to the ship, covering each other as they climbed aboard. Ryan sealed the hatch behind them and slumped against it, his chest heaving. "Captain," Diaz said, holding up the data drive. "We've got it. We're clear." Ryan nodded, but his expression was grim. "Not yet. Command won't stop until they have this. And now we know the truth, they're working with the Zorathians." "What do we do?" Singh asked. Ryan's eyes burned with determination. "We take the fight to them. To everyone who sold us out. This war isn't over, not by a long shot." As the transport lifted off, Ryan stared out at the barren landscape below, his resolve hardening. Humanity might be outnumbered and outgunned, but they weren't out of the fight. Not yet.